Bye, Steve.
Bye,
See you later,
Devon.
mate.
Hi, Devon.
Yeah, anyone wants to say to me.
So, hi and good evening and welcome to the IBD Ostomy support show. Sorry if you caught the back of that. Deep apologies for not being on last week. Unfortunately, we was quite a few people down. I was at a clinical trial and I didn't know that the show wasn't going on until I got out at gone 8.
Yeah, but come on, right, let's be honest.
I
Would you
know.
really want to see Steve and me being really awkward because we don't talk about stoma stuff together? Having a conversation about stomas ain't going to work.
I know.
So I took the executive decision
Yeah,
of
you
no,
tell
going
her.
to happen.
You tell her, right?
We say apologies for that one. However, we're back. Kelly's joining us this evening. So if we go into the introductions, I'm Louise, aka Crohn's Fighting. Sorry I haven't been about for the last month, but I've had a lot going on health-wise and personal stuff, so I've not really been up to doing it. But everybody else has held down the fort and they've done a great job. So I'm back and sort of fighting fit. This month, okay, so the whole month, we've sort of gone for the same concept, but we're going for Stoma Accessory versus Stoma Necessity Roulette. Now, for most of you who are ostomates know that the NHS is making some severe cutbacks at the moment, and the first ones to feel it, apparently, including all the uproar in the groups, is us. So, yes. What have I been up to? Okay. I'm so going to hell. I come back from trampolining today and my little girl was sliding her feet and thinking she was funny skidding. She wasn't holding my hand. Told her to pick her feet up and she fell over. I'll admit I may have laughed. At one point I had tears streaming down my face, but I did help her up and did give her a kiss and make sure she was all right. She was a bit shocked more than anything. And snow's giving me cabin fever, which can't get really out and about where I am because I live in the middle of nowhere. And other than that, I've just had work and some other bits and pieces going on. Not much else to report other than I had to fight for my GI appointment and I finally got one, so yay me. And that's about it. Oh, we're covering Stoma Adhesive Spray versus Stoma Adhesive Remover wipes tonight, so that should be rather interesting because everyone knows my views on wipes. And I will pass you over to Rachel.
Hi, I'm Rachel, aka Rockin' Two Stomas. I wish I was could show you outside of where I wrote it in the snow, but it's all gone now because a car's gone over it. But anyway, what have I been up to this week? So we had the Purple Wings meeting on Sunday and Steve very kindly drove me all the way to Worcester, then back to Paid Off, then back down to Bournemouth, then he drove back. So that was good. So I was grateful for that because the trains were ridiculous. And this week I've been busy. I did a talk on Monday with the physiotherapists in my university, and it was really good because it kind of went down really well because how I did the talk was I kind of presented that, you know, what do you seeing me? And they all said you look well, healthy. And then I kind of told them like the reality of my situation, and it worked quite well. So I was quite pleased of how that came across. And then I had some more uni stuff with nursing interviews on Wednesday. And I help out with them. And yeah, I've just been really busy. I think the last few months, this year has been really hectic already. And I think I've suddenly realized that I need a break because I'm absolutely exhausted. And I think having this divergent colitis and all the bleeding and not being able to eat and having a weight loss, I like to bury my head in the sand and not actually concentrate on and be ill. And sometimes, even though I advocate this stuff and I blog about this stuff, I use it to distract me from what's going on in my life. So I just like, oh, I'm healthy. Like Steve and I have arguments because I say I'm well, you know, and actually I'm not well, but I don't like thinking I'm not well. So I still
we don't argue. I tell you what's what. That's what happens.
Yeah, I think it's hard sometimes I've got appointments coming up now to see what the plan is with the divergent colitis. So I'm blogging in between, but amazing things are happening. And we're so busy for like the rest of this year. Like there's loads of good things coming up. It's just I just need to try and rest in between. So take a bit of a chill and just a step back, I think, and just try, because I've forgotten to do I don't meditate anymore. I haven't meditated for weeks and I haven't done my morning pages and all my self-help stuff I haven't done. So I need to get back into that really and remember that I need to look after myself. It's all right helping others, but I feel like I've given too much. So yeah, well, I'll pass you to Steve because I've been rattling on. Pass you to Steve.
I'm Steve, aka hashtag
Woo,
Daddy. Got my kids. I wanted it in one word, but they messed up, so I got it 2 words. Anyway, what have I been doing this week? 400 miles I clocked up on that trip with Rachel. I was absolutely shattered. I was living off coffee on the way back. I had 3 stops on the way home. I was fighting. My left arm was going, go on, pull into the gutter. My right arm was going, no, stay awake. So that was quite a hectic day. I've just been training. I know who I'm fighting now. Sunday's the fight. Fingers crossed that it goes ahead because of all the snow and that. My seats are dwindling. I've got like 19 front row seats, and they're slowly going down to 18 to 17.
I'm gutted because I can't.
I know.
The trains have stopped because there's bad snow down here, and it's getting worse tomorrow. So there's no train, so I can't see Steve's boxing. So I'm gutted. It
can't be out, can it?
I know, but I'm so gutted.
I haven't. What have I been doing? I've been working. There's not enough hours in the day, really. I've been visiting my dad. Have I had the kids? Yeah, I took the kids trampolining last week. I can't really think of what else I've been doing. It's been constant. I've been going to sort of bed at 12:30 on the night because it was still things not finished. And I'm not sleeping properly. I don't know whether that's nerves from the boxing or I don't know. Just suffering from fatigue. I'm having a kip when I get in. But it seems to be working sort of. So we'll just crack on, don't we? You know what I mean? And that's me. And now it's time for Kelly to introduce herself.
Yeah, looking forward to this.
Hello, obviously I'm Kelly, and well, we all know where I've come from. Is
that Warsaw?
Yeah, causing havoc. I've got normal-ish. What have I been doing? I don't know really. Last week was with all the kids and just messing around and keeping myself busy. Started my swimming again. I've got 35 lengths this week, so that's just over half a mile in April. So yeah, I'm starting to get back to where I was in the summer, which makes me happy.
Don't overdo it.
No, it's all going very slow.
Because that's what happened last time, wasn't it? I think you overdid it, and
yeah. Sent my gut into a spasm, which wasn't.
Kelly, it's quite miraculous. Your swimming is quite miraculous because it has like a really good effect. Like I noticed that when I see that you're swimming, I think, oh, I should go swimming, and then other people are like, oh, I should go swimming, and it actually posting every Wednesday. It really does sort of, and then over the month you think, oh, I really should go swimming, and it's because your posts like sort of niggle. Yeah. And then it's like, oh, I think it's a great idea. Seeing you doing it, it kind of gets other people to go. And also, I'd just like to mention in Sheppey, and I think, is it Kent, Louise, that there's a Colostomy UK in March, swimming, where they join together, I think, the support groups. So that's a good
They are.
It is. It's with the Coloplast. I think we have posted it in a few places. And I know that if you go onto Stoma the Teacups page, I think it's one of the items that's actually up the top, but it's a good meet and greet for everybody if they wish to.
Is it Colostomy UK?
I believe it's Colostomy UK. I can't remember if it was Colostomy UK or part of Coloplast, actually, to be fair. I'll have to dig back through and go through what I shared. Hang on, sorry, 2 seconds. Your tooth fell out. Okay, show me. Okay, we'll do the too late now for the tooth fairy. We'll do it tomorrow, okay?
Oh, too late for the tooth fairy. Wow. Sorry. The amount of complaints you're going to get for that. It's not too late. Tooth fairy's up all night. I know.
She's been off at school since Tuesday. She cost me 30.
The tooth fairy never goes to sleep. The tooth fairy has permanent fatigue.
She's cost me another 25 quid for Dorothy. Tooth Fairy can wait another night, and plus she spent all the change that Tooth Fairy may have had.
Oh, tell you what, even the Tooth Fairy's feeling the pinch now, isn't it? You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah, it is when the Tooth Fairy's going rates a fiver. Anyway.
Well, we're busy on the chat today.
We are busy on
the chat. Hi, everybody. Paulette, I think it's her first time watching, and the usuals, Graham, Ash. Vicky. Oh yeah, Vicky. Oh, hi Vicky. I didn't see that Vicky was on there. And anybody else watching? Hello.
I just found the post about this Colostomy UK swim.
Yeah.
And it looks like Colostomy UK are sponsoring it.
Yeah. Thanks, lovely. I couldn't remember.
I've just had a message off Jill Jury.
What's she saying?
Saying I look very toned, saying good luck with the fight on Sunday.
Oh, is Mum watching? Hi, Mum.
Hi,
Mum's always watching. Hi, Jill.
So if we go into the short bit first, which is because I know we can't talk about it forever. I don't think we can possibly at all. So we're doing adhesive remover spray versus adhesive remover wipes. Now, what does everyone else prefer?
Spray. That's me. I've never tried the wipes, to be honest. I've never ever tried them because I found that the spray. No, because I found that I've got on with the spray really well. I like it because it kind of gets off all the gluey stuff afterwards as well. Not just takes the bag off, but you know, like you have to spray around to get all the gluey stuff off. Well, I've never ever used the wipes. I'd like to get some just for when I'm out and about.
You know what? It's funny you should say that though, because the reason why we picked the barrier removers and the sprays and everything else for this month is because people have been complaining that the cutbacks that they've been having, they've been declined the spray and they've been given the wipes. But I think with the adhesive remover wipes as a whole, if you've had your bag stuck on, because not everybody changes daily or every other day, some people can go up to 4 or 5 days before taking their bag off. Now with the spray slides, doesn't it? And it goes down the back and it makes it easier to peel off. Whereas with the wipes, you actually have to peel it and force the wipe underneath. To me, I find the wipe is pointless because it's you're skin stripping, because either way you can't, unless there's actually any residue left in the bag, in the sachet from the wipe, you're going to have to rip it off.
Can I just make a point? I thought I was right. I'm just checking here. The wipes are actually more expensive than the sprays. So in the formulary list, I thought they were. Wipes are £8.70 and sprays are actually £5.96, because I know that they won't give the wipes out in my area. I know that a few people, I haven't been affected, but a few people with the wipes, but the sprays they have. And I know that the problem when I use this, I prefer the sprays, but when I use the spray for double bags, if I spray on one, it can go on the other, and then I end up like having to change both when I don't want to change both. So I have to be quite careful when I use the spray. So sometimes I won't use the spray and I'll use without it. Because if I say I don't want to change the ileostomy because of the prolapse and it takes ages, if I do use the spray, because they're close together, it ends up going on the other one.
I think the equivalent for me using wipes is like giving yourself an unintended wax session. Most women can relate to that, but it does strip the skin.
Are they quite moist?
No.
I mean, could you like wring them out?
No, it's like the equivalent of KFC lemon wipe to wipe your hands. That is the only way that I can describe them.
Been sat in your car.
Are we allowed to advertise blatant brands? McDonald's.
I'm not paid by anybody or sponsored. I pay for this all myself, so no, it's fine. But it's the thing as well. It's finding the spray that's right for you, because not everybody likes the same spray. I mean, Kelly, what do you use? What remover do you use? I use
the Pelican spray, the one that's got the bit of a minty smell to it, and if you spray it in the right place, yeah, that's the one. I use that one, but I have tried other, and I always go back to that one because my skin's quite sensitive, and that one's the only one that doesn't bother it.
What do you use, Rach?
So I kind of use my sample collection. So I get lots of samples and I don't have a specific one. And I go, because I don't always use the sprays, because I like I said, if I don't want the other bag to get, I'll just pull it off. Although I've started to notice my skin is getting a bit sore, so I need to try and use the sprays more. But yeah, I just use any samples that I have. I try not to. It's not on my regular order, so I'll order it if I need it, but I don't have it every month because I don't need it. I've got the samples to go through. But I think I'm using the Pelican one at the moment and the Clinimed one. I've got a few on the go. It's whatever I fancy.
What do you use, Steve?
You know what? Thinking about it, I'm not sure. It's from my charter order, so it's more than likely Coloplast, but I have got the mint ones as well. I use
Oh,
whatever I grab out the drawer. To be fair,
could it be the
normally...
Sorry,
Go on.
could it be the Adapt one that you're using? Maybe
The what one? Sorry.
the Adapt.
No. Oh, what's it called? Urgh.
Is it the one that's in a white? Is it the one that's in a white tin?
Alessi.
Yeah. No. Oh my God. I'm gonna have to get it, you know.
Yeah, go and get it.
Yeah, it's doing me. I didn't know that is. I use it every 3 days, so should know by now.
I believe the exact message was, "You need your sprays for the show."
Oh, I didn't even see that. Oops. See that message over.
I'm the same with Kelly. I either use the Pelican one with the mid, but the thing is where I've been to a few events and where we've been down to Cardiff and that, I probably have about the equivalent of 12 bottles of adhesive remover sitting indoors in spray form, which I'm slowly getting through, because I think I managed to make one, even though I changed my bag as what I do. I think I managed to make mine last me well over a month, sometimes 2 months for a can, because one of the ladies, I think it was a Respond lady actually, she showed me how to get the bag off in 4 sprays, so you're not continuously spraying the whole thing.
I think my one can last me probably 2 months.
Brava.
2 months.
Oh, it is the Brava one.
Yeah, I was right.
How do you find it though compared to others? Because I know you've tried a few. Because I remember you telling me about the Osto pills and that they was good for air fresheners.
They're brilliant. They are. I've never ever used them to do my bag.
I use the black one.
Just
quite nice.
the Brava's brilliant.
It's that black currant one. The black currant one, Steve.
Yeah, they're really
that's
nice.
So nice.
They just literally end up on the floor, really.
And the apple.
Yeah, the apple's quite nice as well. The blackcurrant one is ridiculous. And I remember going to getting one of them samples off one of the ladies at one of the events that I went to, and I said to her, "Look, I'll use this as air freshener. It's brilliant." And she was going, "Oh, grab a few more then."
But I think sitting in my storage drawer, I think I've actually got like 6 cans of Ostopil and another 3 Pelican, and I think I've got 2 Hollister ones in there as well, which I've had since I come out of hospital. I don't think I've actually ordered an adhesive remover spray on my order for about a year.
So
Paulette
has said that hers is the salts one. Graham says mint is not as if you've going to taste it. I think I've missed a load of what was they talking about. Hang on.
Yeah, Graham sent me a message and said about waxing and pretty much not using anything, and his mum's the worst at doing it apparently.
Wow.
So Love Expo, which I'm sorry, I don't know what your name is, but it says, I think they cause more problems than they solve. Never needed them. And the odd time I tried, they affected the adhesive of the new bag going on.
Oh, I have to use a spray. I have to use something. I can't just peel it off.
See, I sometimes do peel it off, but I've started using the spray because my skin is getting sore.
Well, it's mad. When I first had my stoma, I had to shave that area because I've got a hairy chest and belly. And now hair doesn't grow there anymore. It's evolution, that is. Hair decides that it can't grow there. It's not allowed.
It's constant of plucking out from the follicle. But I think the adhesive removers are a necessity. They're not an accessory as they are actually classed. They are a necessity for everybody, because they can't just expect you to rip off a bag, especially over the stoma site as well, because that makes the skin worse. I think it makes the skin worse if you're not using the right combination of things to get the bag off and to remove any leftover residue.
That's the sore bit, that getting off the leftover residue. I think if there are any hairs, that's where they are.
I think it depends on the bag that you use as well, though, and the kind of base plate that is attached to the bottom of it. I think the thicker ones leave more residue if you've had them on quite a long time, whereas the thinner ones, I don't think they leave as much.
I think.
How long do you keep a bag on? How long does everyone keep their bags on for? Sorry. Starting with you, Kelly.
4 days.
4 days.
4 days, and then
that's
some 2 or 3
every time, like, yeah.
Yeah.
And you know, when you take it off, how much how much is damaged of the centre bit from the stoma outwards?
Because of my loop ileostomy, and I have to wear a tray seal around my stoma. It's not that damaged, but because of the way my ostomy works, with it being a loop ileostomy, it produces more liquid than the end ones. So I can tend to, if I've not got my barrier on, my ring on, then it'll sort of leak out, and that's what caused all my leaks to start with.
Oh, okay.
And you, Rachel?
I leave my ileostomy is 3 to 4 days, and my urostomy is 7 days. That's just amazing. That just stays on, and I don't have any problems with it.
It's good as gold, that one, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is. I like that one. That's not as annoying as my ileostomy. But
you, Louise, how long do you keep yours on?
Since I've changed bag, 3 days.
3 days. And what would be the wear away?
Mine's quite bad. That's why I have to change it, because the inside's broken down so much. I constantly have a red ring on one side of my stoma. It doesn't matter how much, even though the bag is cut to size and it is what stoma my size is, because I had it reviewed by the stoma nurse. It just, because my output is so high and because it is so watery, it just gets underneath. But because I've got a convex bag, and because I'm allergic to most of the seals that I've tried underneath the bag, I can't use a seal to put around the stoma and then put the bag on top. So I'm literally relying on the stoma bag and the belt and my hernia support wear to keep the bag in place.
Has any of you ever tried the moldable seals that come out, like, you know, almost like a sleeve, like putty, to go around the stoma and bring it? Has anyone ever tried them and get on with them?
I don't think so. I've tried this bag. Where's my camera gone? And that's got sort of a mouldable bit to it.
Oh, I've had that in a sample.
Yeah, I've tried that, but I don't like this colour of the bag.
Yeah.
I like this idea. So if Coloplast did this,
Does it rip? It rips off, doesn't it?
Yeah, take that bit away.
Yeah.
And then mould this bit, wherever my camera's gone. Mould that bit round, so it closes back round your stoma, and then you stick that bit onto that bit, and everything's brilliant. It's lovely, but I just don't like the colouring of the bag itself.
Yeah, I'm the same as you, Kelly. I prefer a coloured bag, like either the Sensory Mio or the new Salts bag. I don't like the clinical look.
Yeah, no.
Steve, sorry, lovely. Somebody was just asking a question. How long have you had your stoma for, lovely?
Who, me?
Yeah.
September 2015. So
you're nearly 3 years
this September, yeah.
So has anybody been affected by the cuts? Because we can't mention all these the essential or the supporting items. I hate using the word accessory without talking about if anybody's been affected by the cuts.
I know Vicky's been affected, but Vicky said purely only because she's got allergies with her skin. That's the only reason they haven't been able to cut back what she's using. They've tried, but due to Vicky's psoriasis and everything else, they've not been able to completely remove everything off. So they've had to give her what she wants.
Have you guys been affected?
I have, with all the hernia support wear. I have to pay for it myself. I have tried through my GP realistically every 3 to 4 months, and apart from the belt that I was given, that my stoma nurse gave me 6 weeks after surgery, I've not been able to get anything on prescription, so I pay for it all myself.
Yeah, because I think Kent, when I did the research, I noticed that Kent and that side of England really bad. Midlands are okay-ish, but it's not everybody, and I think not everybody's been affected, but we're starting to see more and more people are being affected and not knowing your rights or not knowing how to. If you can help advocate for yourself and justify why you need certain products, like Vicky has with her skin, like a few other people, if you can then say to your GP and then contact your stoma nurse, if they agree, they will most of the time support you on that. If it doesn't, then that's when you go to practice managers. You can take it to the health watch, to then MPs eventually if it gets further. But I had people come to me that have been stopped for using the dry wipes, which are a complimentary item. But and one of them said to use kitchen roll, which kitchen roll with a stoma is awful. And it's, yes, I understand the cuts need to happen. You know, I've got some figures here. So prescription cost analysis England 2016, 9.20 billion prescriptions were dispensed, right? So out of this data, 6 million were stoma appliances costing £295 million in 2016. Well, that's a lot of money, you know, and I think we need the items, but it's also about not ordering more than we can. You know, it's like meeting halfway. It's sort of advocating why we need a product, but then not ordering products that we don't need to have boxes and boxes of it.
Sometimes that's difficult, though, as you know. If they're going to give me 3 lubricating deodorants, then I'm probably going to take 3, just in case. You know what I mean? It's kind of like the dry wipes. I've never ever got enough of them, never. But you always feel bad when I'm saying, "Can I have 4 bags, please?" Do you know what I mean? It's kind. But I've been really good. This I ordered mine yesterday, and I haven't ordered this, and I haven't ordered that. I've still got a drawer full of them. To be fair.
I think it's just being mindful that, like, at the end of the day, we are so lucky that with the NHS, because if we were in America, you know, it'd be costing me loads with the 2 bags and all my admissions with sepsis, and it cost me ridiculous. So I'm grateful for the NHS, but it's also that the fact that if they do ever bring in the standardization with pouches, which is they are talking about, that's going to cause hell. You know, I know for me, I can't use any other product than the one I'm using because of my prolapse. And if that does happen, then that's why I put the article out there, and you know, Shell worked with me on it as well to try and make sure that we know our rights as well, because if that does happen and if it does get stricter, then it might be difficult. Some people might not get affected at all, but then, like, I know Steve hasn't and I haven't been affected yet, but if you do, it's just good to know that you can download the stoma guidelines for your area that your local CCP, the Clinical Commission Group, have given out, and you can download the PDF. And it's important to read that if you do have a what do they call it? A talk with the GP about your prescriptions or need to challenge it. So, you know, if you want any information, just message me on that, or look at my article, or message Louise or Kelly or Steve.
Well, I know.
Don't mention me.
Well, I know.
Nick, don't message me. I know nothing about it.
You see, I know Nicola's been having issues, because I know Kelly was explaining to me before the show, and Nicola's just said she has to fight her GP for her stoma bags on prescription. Now, I've been there myself, where my GP has refused to issue stoma bags, and I've got 3 left, and I'm due my delivery.
Madness.
And I know back then the company that I was with used to take anything between 10 days to 2 weeks to deliver. And in the end, I actually went into my GP, booked an appointment, and went in with all my stoma changing stuff, and sat down in front of him and changed my stoma bag and whacked the leftovers on his desk and said, "Now you tell me that's not a necessity." It's
ridiculous. I find that absolutely amazing. It's the same as women and sanitary products. I don't honestly think that they should be paid for. They should be part of. It's just ridiculous.
Nicola, could you just comment on the chat? Has your GP had problems issuing the catheters, the intermittent catheters? Because the other bit I haven't mentioned, and I didn't mention in the article, was that catheters and incontinence wear. So it's not just stomas, but incontinence products have been affected far earlier than stoma products. So catheters have been affected for years. For the last 4 years, they've been really badly cut back. And I just wondered has your GP given you problems with that?
So I'm just waiting to see if Nicola puts. I mean, Love Expo said, but if you were all given with bags, you'd manage just fine. The other items are a bit of a luxury and often unnecessary. Now, what is everybody's view and opinion on that one?
A luxury. It's each to their own, isn't it? It really is. I mean, okay. For instance, the drops for the bag, I literally will only use them if I'm going to someone's house. I won't ever use them other than that, because it's pointless. If I'm at the toilet at work, I don't really care what it smells like, to be fair. If I'm going to someone's house, then yeah, I want the bathroom to be smelling of oranges when I walk away. You know what I mean?
If
that could be classed as a luxury, yes.
Yeah,
but things like your dry wipes, your wet wipes, you know, your bags, that's not a luxury at all.
The deodorizers, you know, the question is like, I buy my own deodorizers, but I don't really agree with that comment, only because if you have a perfectly working stoma, that's fine. You don't use any powders and you just use the bag, then that's brilliant. But for some people, like I have the prolapse, I have to use a ring on mine. I have to, because when I lie down, it changes shape and obviously like significantly. So I need a ring. Now, if I didn't have the ring, that causes my skin, which causes more leaks, but then causes more products. So therefore I need that. So for me, that's not a luxury. I need that to help prevent the cost and the more buying more products for the NHS. So I understand what you're saying. Some, you know, with the drops, yes, they can. I understand that thinking, but for some people, they are necessary. They need them to prevent leaks, because if they didn't have those products, if I didn't have my extender base plate, I will end up having leaks, which then I would have to change my bag more, which will cost more money, and that actually puts them in a worse way. So it's up to the individual to, you know, some products are needed.
I just think with anything, I think it's just being more mindful than anything else. I think it's just having a good system, so you know what you need to order, you know what you've got stuff of. I think it's more about being mindful about what you're ordering, and don't just order things for the sake of ordering it. If you use it, then that's fair enough. But if you don't, then there's no point in ordering. And, you know, if you want to try something, then you can, you know, ring up companies, you can get samples, you can go to Stoma open days. You know, there's so much that you can do to try things where you wouldn't necessarily have to have them put onto prescription unless you've tried them and then go and see your stoma nurse. But it's the same again, one shoe does not fit all. And, you know, there's some people that have perfectly behaved stomas and they don't have to change their bags for a week, whereas others have to change daily, or Rachel, like you with a prolapse, and you have to change, you know, Bob, so frequently because of the leaks and the issues that you have been having. Or then just the case of where with me, I have high output, the base plate breaks down, and it's a case of changing the bag or having a leak and completely and utterly ruining everything, massacring my skin, and then having to, you know, go through 10 bags in one day because I can't get any to stick. It is.
I agree what Love Exos just said. So maybe each patient should be more assessed to gauge what is necessary, as I know some take the mickey out of the system. Not everybody is honest assessment. I totally agree with that. Yeah. I think it's good to have a one-to-one where you can go, okay, what products are you using? Do you need to use them? And to have it. So I do agree with that. I think that is good to have that with either the stoma nurse or GP, which I think they are rolling out in some areas. I know mine's coming up soon, and I know in Kent that you have that, don't you? You have the review.
Yeah, I have mine reviewed. I have my stuff reviewed every 6 months. My stoma nurse will ring me up, or I will go and see her, and she will ask me how is everything working that I am using. And if anything needs to change, I'll go in and see her, like I have done recently, because my output's been really bad. So my skin's been breaking down again. And, you know, it's just the case of adding something like a barrier cream on to use underneath the barrier powder, just to give the barrier powder something to stick to. So, you know, I think, I'll admit, there are probably people that do take the mick, but I think they are few and far between. And, you know, it's like the saying goes, all of us are guilty of hoarding something with stoma supplies. You know, every one of us has done it. We can't say no. We've never hoarded anything. I mean, Jesus Christ, I've got a year's worth of stoma sprays, adhesive remover, so I'm not going to have to order for the next year, which is going to save, what, I don't know, on prescription, maybe the equivalent of £140 through the year. But then I'm the same with Brava powder. I have cats. I change my bag. If I don't pack it, they roll it off of the bed.
See, you can bet your life, if you own a dog, yeah, you're going to order more bags, more little black bags than you should do. I can guarantee that for anyone that owns a dog. They're going to use them for poop bags, aren't they? you are, but you know, it's doing a job in it to put your poo in it. So I haven't got a dog, by the way.
I don't think we should get one either. I think you just use that analogy about the waste bags.
No, I think there'll be a few people agreeing with that quietly.
Oh dear.
You're talking about the reviews and they've only really just come in, I think, Nicola. I think that's why in 25 years you probably haven't had one. Although it sounds like your GP maybe needs to be spoken to by your nurse, because it's ridiculous. I can't believe the problems you had last time. Yeah, and it's about educating GPs sometimes as well, because my GP, I had to change GPs because I went in and he didn't know what urostomy was, and I thought, right, I'm having another GP. I'm not going through this again. Like, you know, I already get frustrated with the lack of awareness of urostomies in healthcare professional anyway. And it didn't. And when I went to see another GP, he didn't write it down on my thing at all, because he thought it was a colostomy. And it's frustrating sometimes when you try not to come across as a know-it-all, but when they're not maybe as educated in stoma stuff as much as probably as we, although we're not professionally educated, we are experienced in it. It can be frustrating.
It's like what you were saying, you know, when you're ordering products, there's a choice: ileostomy, colostomy, or urostomy. There's not a choice saying ileostomy and urostomy, colostomy and urostomy. So Rachel has this constant battle with, she'll tick that and then she has to fill in another form for the other one, because there's not an option where there should be. Really, they're just assuming that everyone has the same sort of format. They're trying to get that out there. Sorry, Kelly.
Sorry, no, I've noticed as well, there's obviously, I didn't know about nephrostomies until I was in hospital with Kate Davis. And she's got 3 bags. So she's got 2 for urine that come out of her back, and then she's got her colostomy, which is obviously stuck on the front.
Yeah.
And, like, she has so many problems because she has to order colostomy bags from Charter, and then she orders a nephrostomy stuff from the nephrostomy company. And for ages and ages, when she come out of hospital, she kept missing her Charter kept stopping her order because the other company, they'd sent it to the other company, and the other company didn't know what to do with it, so sent it back. And in the meantime, Kate sat there with no bags, nothing, don't know what to do, and was ringing me up going, what do I do? And I was like, it's all right, I'll bring some. Because obviously with me being quite new still, at the time I must have had samples coming out my ear rolls of different bags, and when I had my leaks and stuff, I just literally went through every bag I could lay my hand on. So I'd got some extra bags and sort of handed her them and went, knock yourself out, love, enjoy all of those. But then she's sorted hers out now, but it's been such a headache.
They couldn't do it all at the same company.
I think she's done it now, and she's got it all at the same company now. But before, they just wasn't listening and wasn't
setting up.
When I had the suprapubic catheter, and I had to have exactly the same problem, 2 distribution companies, and it was a nightmare trying to marry it up. And then in the end, I didn't know that you could have it all in the same one. And I think it's like when you get given products, when you're on the internet, you know, you've got this wealth of knowledge and ostomates you can talk to who can say, you know, you can order samples. Now, some people I've spoken to one-to-one at the support group here, Cupid in Dorset, some people aren't aware that you can just order samples. They think you have to be given what your stoma has given you. What your stoma is, what your nurse has given you, but it's fine. Again, it's not taking the mickey, but finding the product that works best for you.
Guys, can I just ask a quick question, because I know this has been a bone of contention, and I know we all speak about it privately a lot, and we do speak about it in other things as well. So somebody has asked, how do you feel about the fact you get all prescriptions for free just because you have an ostomy? Is it right or wrong considering the NHS is failing? Now, I know myself, I pay for my PCP card, and my PCP card is £15 a month. And because I get more than 3 prescriptions a month, I still pay for my stoma supplies. I still pay monthly for my prescriptions and my medication.
I feel quite lucky because both my prescriptions and my ostomy supplies I get for free anyway, with being stuck on benefits and things like that. So I get them free. So I am actually very fond and very lucky to have the NHS system. And I know a lot of people don't have that. And without it, I wouldn't be able to manage the pain that I'm in now. And I don't even think I've managed to be able to make my money stretch. And it's not for not wanting to work. It's through not having the ability to go to work with the children, and obviously with the pain and not being able to walk or stand up for a long period of time. So I do feel quite lucky to have that luxury, if you like. And
Same here.
That has to pay.
I do actually work, but I feel immensely grateful that, I mean, I know there's a loophole there. Obviously, if you've got whatever your ileostomy, colostomy, or urostomy is, surely they're all temporary until you decide that you're not having it permanently. But or it could be talked about the other way. They're all permanent until you decide that you don't want it permanent anymore. So that there's a slight loophole there. Obviously, I don't pay for mine. I'm extremely grateful, because it'd be quite a big bill per month, to be fair.
It's why I pay for my PCP.
No, I used to pay that all the time because of the amount of drugs that I was taking. It was just ridiculous. I was having probably like 8 different tablets a month, and it was just undoable. I couldn't have done it otherwise. I think that was $10.91 a month or something like that. But I was extremely grateful, and I'm glad we're not in a position that like America is. So we are very lucky, and I don't think we should ever lose sight of that. Some people aren't.
People aren't lucky, and it's one of those things, isn't it? There's some of us that, this is why everyone's petitioning to have things pushed through Parliament and everything else, because ostomates as a whole, unless it's a permanent stoma, 9 times out of 10 you've got to pay for it, and or if you are on benefits, then sometimes they still make you pay for it, and that's a struggle in itself.
I found that the doctor wasn't very forthcoming in letting me know this information. I found out this off another ostomate online that said, are you paying for your prescriptions? And I said yes. Did you realise that if you have a permanent stoma, you can get it paid for you? The doctor wasn't forthcoming at all with that information. I kind of found it out myself, and then found out that I had to get it stamped by the stoma nurse or the surgeon that performed the operation.
So I don't pay for mine. But what I do is I will buy my paracetamol, and I know it's really small, and I know it's and I understand what Love Exo is trying to say, and I get that. But because I'm on benefits and I struggle with my money, but I try to be careful in what I order. I try to be mindful not to take too much than I need. And I will buy paracetamol myself. I will buy deodorizers myself, and I try to take responsibility in that respect. And I think that's all we can do, is just be we are also grateful for the NHS. I wouldn't be alive without it, and I wouldn't be here without it. But I think we need it. If you're in a position where you can't afford it, if you can buy paracetamol, then fair enough, help where you can. But I think to say that everybody, I think it's a tricky one. You're going to get debates on it. It's a tricky one.
I don't know. I think, at the end of the day, we're lucky to have the NHS. We always are. And one way or another, everybody's paid in life, whatever way you look at it, everybody does. And it's not, I do feel that sometimes people think that we get it more lucky, but then if there's so much over here that you don't get classed as a disability, or that is recognised as an illness that is a disability. You've got people with a bad back that can get disability, but then you've got people that have got rare diseases and stuff that have to fight their cause to even be registered disabled or get some sort of benefit. You have to fight your corner for that, because 9 times out of 10, if it's not recognised by the government, then it's not recognised by anyone else. So everybody struggles, everybody's worked, everybody's put into the system. You can't help when you fall on bad times, and that we are lucky to have the NHS.
Well, and also I've just realised, and I remember Paulette, when I did the research, somebody said about NAMS, if you live in, correct me if this is wrong, right? But if you live in Nottingham, you have to go through NAMS. You can't go to charter and distribution, can you? I'm sure I was really shocked with that. I don't know why that's just your area, but I think you have to go through them.
No,
and I think I've heard that there's been a lot of people that feedback that have had problems with NAMS. So I think they are really cutting down.
Yeah, there was is it Pamela on here Paulette, sorry, was saying that she has to order if there was anybody else on here that ordered through NAMS.
Yeah.
And she said, you're right, they've been having major issues.
Yeah, I think I've had about 5 or 6 people message me like because of it, issues with NAMS. And again, it's trying to look at yourself going, do I really need this product? You know, can I order every other monthly? And if you can't, then justify why you need that. And I think that's a small price to pay, really, you know, for able to get the equipment we need. But yeah, I've lost my trail of thought.
Yeah, no, Paulette said that with NAMS that they are basically on trial and that they're having big problems.
It's a fine line, isn't it? If yes, we all should be thinking like that. We all should be sort of making little savings everywhere, but it's only going to work if everyone does it. It's like what they go on about the ozone layer. It's only going to work if everybody gets on board. Otherwise, it's little tiny little bits will make no difference to the whole situation as a whole. Me personally, that's my belief.
Like the NHS or a benefit system, somewhere somebody will abuse it. So the only way to stop abuse is to take it all away. But then, how do we cope? Or do we man up like the Americans do and cope?
But I mean, what about you, Kelly? Because how did you get your ostomy? Because yours is a bit of a different story to ours, isn't it?
Good question.
I've not got Crohn's or colitis or cancerous or anything like that. I have slow digestive transit, which I thought I was quite unique. And I've found about 6 more ostomates that are the same as me. Basically, I just only ever went to the loo once a month. But because I'd been like that since about the age of 10, I never questioned it. And it was only in 2016 that I went to the doctors for a routine medical because I wanted to learn to drive my HGV lorry, so I needed my HGV license. And he gave me the medical and he tapped on my stomach and he said, "There's something the matter, it doesn't sound right." And I said, "Yeah, I know all about that. I've been tested and tracked through Queen's Medical Centre in Nottingham, and they've said I've got slow digestive transit, basically, take these pills and go away." He says, no, there's something really serious. And this was the doctor in Warsaw when I moved here. And he says, no, there's something really serious. I'm going to refer you to the Wolverhampton Hospital to see a specialist there. And I basically walked in on the, when was it? I think it was the January, I was told. And she basically sat there and she said, "Look, I've chased up your notes, I've had a look at what I can look at, there's no point in doing any more tests, I'm going to give you an ostomy." And I sort of sat there and the world disintegrated at my feet, and I was like, oh, okay. Walked out, went to the toilet and sat and sobbed. I thought, I've turned into an old person. And that's what old people have. I've never heard of an ostomy. I knew about colostomies, but it was always an old person who had that, not a 36-year-old.
How did you get diagnosed with the slow transit? Was it the marker test where you swallow the markers?
Yes, I had the marker test where you swallow the plastic pills in a sequence. Yeah. And then a couple of days go back and they scan you and find out where they are. When they did that, they found out I got an 86-hour transit. But they said it could be longer. But because the markers, only one set of markers, I think it was the blue ones, had moved quicker through my system than any of the others. The others were still in the stomach.
And what causes that? Is that peristalsis? That or lack of peristalsis?
I've no idea.
There's loads of different causes for I've been diagnosed with slow transit, but mine's through the pure autonomic failure. So my diagnosis for the bowel was same as Kelly, but I didn't go at all. Like I went for like years not going. Enemas didn't work. I had to use the peristeam irrigation. Did you try that, Kelly?
No, I didn't.
The peristeam irrigation is where you get the catheter and you pump the water up. But I just couldn't. My bottom, and now when I have a mucus movement, I have to digitally stimulate and it's disgusting, but my bottom doesn't work. Peristalsis won't work at all. And So I think, Kelly, I don't know if you found the same, but before I found the groups, I felt alone. I thought it's the only person when my bladder and bowel failed. I thought it was alone, and I felt quite victim, quite poor me. And then I went into groups. I went, oh my God, everybody's got stomas, they're living well. And then people that don't have it for other reasons, it was like, oh my God, there's a community of us. I'm not just on my own.
When I got my I was told that I was getting the stoma in January. I was told about, for the life of me remember her name now. Bloody can't remember her name. But I was told by her, and it's really bad because it was the first group I followed. And she sort of put me into making ostomies cool and sort of linked me to them. And then I followed them from literally the second or third week I was told I was having an ostomy. I followed them, and because of my general nature, I'm nosy and I have to know everything about every operation I'm ever having.
Yeah.
And to the point of searching Google and YouTube for videos, and then being really upset that there is no actual physical live video apart from somebody on a piece of meat or a plastic box. So I was really upset that I couldn't find an actual surgery. To the point where I now ask my surgeon when I go for the whatever surgery it is I'm having next. Right,
I can spell it, but I can't say it.
the other one. I want to ask my surgeon if she would video it so it can go up somewhere on some site somewhere. I don't know where. I don't know if she would, but I think it'd be useful.
Great idea. So Kelly, we're very similar, because when I went for my urostomy surgery, when the cells were mutated and I had 2 weeks I had to have it removed, I actually watched the surgery, because it is on YouTube, the surgery of cystectomy and ileoconduit. I watched it and I told my surgeon. He went, Rachel, you're really weird. Like, why? I went, but I want to know.
Do you know what, though? I'd want to know with them doing mine, the amount of times I've flatlined on the table or ended up back on HDU every time I've had an operation. I just actually want to see the fear in their face whilst they're doing it. I know that seems really bad and sick.
Oh, no.
But I do. I just want to see. I just want to see the fear in their eyes when they go, "No, she's done it again."
You think there'd be foul words said in?
Oh yeah, my surgeon. Every time I go in and sees me, he goes, "So what one have you got for me today?" I'm like, "Ah, you ain't." But I mean,
on her again.
How did you find everything? I mean, with being told that you was going to have it done and with researching like you did, how did you feel about the whole situation?
After I got over it in the hospital toilet, then was break the news to my partner, who I'd not long been with him, so I needed to break it to Carl and see what he said. And I was obsessed that he was going to go, "No, that's it, I can't deal with that, Moth." And he said, "No, it's you. I've had enough with you, not your health issues, nothing. So whatever we'll face it, we'll deal with it." And after I'd researched it, because I found out in January, I had it done in the May, so I was relatively quite quick. Sort of April time, I felt like my world had ended, the whole planet had stopped. And on the 18th of April, I remember it vividly. I couldn't see past that date. On the 18th of April, in my head, the world was just going to evaporate because I didn't know when I was going to get my operation date. And it wasn't till the beginning of May. I think I found out on the 6th of May, I was going into hospital the following week. And I couldn't tell my family because it was my sister's birthday the next day. So I kept it very, very quiet until I'd done her birthday party. And
is that quite hard? That sounds quite lonely, like keeping it all quiet.
Not really, because we're not a very close-knit family. I mean, we're close, but we don't know each other. We don't talk on a daily basis. We don't know what each other's problems are. And when I sort of let it slip, it was on Facebook with my black dots. It was the day after I'd seen my stoma nurse. So I got my black dots, and somebody said, "Why have you, for God's sake, why have you had a black circle tattooed on your belly?" I said, "No, that's my stoma site." And that's how my family found out. And then, so I got
schoolboy error, classic schoolboy error.
Of why didn't you tell me? And I was like, basically, I didn't want talking out of it. That's why I didn't tell you.
Do you know what? I think my mum spent like 4 days, like pretty much screaming and shouting at me down the phone, trying to tell me that it wasn't the right thing because of what happened before. And I was like, hey, you ain't got to live with me, have you?
Well, that was it. When I went through the surgery, I got my older aunties who all have the same problem. I will point out that it seems to be a hereditary family issue with the females in my side of the family. And they all do it, and they all sat there and they said, well, I don't know why you've made such a thing about it. It's normal. We all do it. We're all the same. And I was like, no. It's seriously not normal to want to give birth over having a poo.
Yeah, and Kelly, I think that, and that's a really good point, because I think, I don't know if yours affects the bladder, but I think when you have something like slow transit, they still don't really pinpoint why exactly it happens. Whereas IBD, there's a confirmation. People know about Crohn's, people know about cancer, they know about colitis. But when you have something that is rare, you can be looked upon as like, oh, do you really need it? Is it really necessary? And then you're kind of battling. I had, like, my parents have been great, but I had a similar conversation where you said, hi, Mum, but where you said, like, where you said that sort of, do you really need it? And, you know, could you go without it? But actually, life without my ileostomy was awful. I couldn't go to the toilet. And I think there are more people with slow transit that maybe don't even know that they have it, because it's still very, very unknown. Like, there's not much research done on it. There's not many studies.
And if it's been there for like ever, it's kind of like your norm, isn't it?
Yeah.
You don't know any different.
Sorry, Kelly, really random, but obviously because you have the slow transit, has that changed since you've got the bag, or is it still quite slow? Just out of curiosity, because you have an ileostomy.
No, mine is what I'd say is a normal ileostomy transit. So it's quite, if I eat something within, depending on what it is, for 2 or 3 hours maybe, my bag has decided to deposit it. But I find that now when I go to the toilet for a wee, and obviously my bag, if it's got a tiny bit in or a lot in, I always empty my bag every time I go to the loo now. So I'd say it's sped up, but obviously I had my issues in the summer, last summer, and I had pains where my large intestine that's still inside had managed to sneak itself into my loop and get stuck, which is what caused all the agony. And it was spasming until it released itself, which sent me in and out of hospital sort of on I think it was something like a three days in and 2 days home, back in an ambulance and back in for 3 days. For 2 months.
Do you know why your large bowel got caught? And I know this is a really weird question to ask. The reason being is I've been looking everywhere online for the last sort of 6 weeks, I think. I've been looking at what they actually do with your large bowel when it's disconnected, because there's nothing at all to say anything, is there?
I know if you research it online, it's not there.
No.
But I know from being in and out of A&E and being passed around sort of about 4 surgeons where I had, it could be this, it could be that, it could be the other, and it was eventually my surgeon that said it's a spasm in an intestine, it's nothing else, that's all it is, and once it releases itself she'll be fine. And it was one visit back to the hospital that one of the senior doctors in A&E actually sat and said, and it was very, very informative actually. He sat and he explained, and it was the only time I think I'd been in and out probably about 4 or 5 weeks before he explained what was going on. And what actually happens is, because your large intestine doesn't work anymore, but it's just been sort of disconnected. Well, it's not even been disconnected, it's been sort of tied, which is where the loop comes from. It's been made into a loop around itself, like you would tie a balloon.
Yeah.
And then they make your stoma and like that, like they normally do. But because you've been tied off, sometimes your bowel still thinks it works the same as it always has done. So it will still work the same way. And what it tends to do is, the more it tries to work, it undoes this said knot and loosens it off. So occasionally you'll get something that slides through, goes around your digestive tract, and that's why those of us with loop ileostomies poo rectally. But occasionally when that happens, there's sometimes food doesn't slide through, and your bowel spasms that much that it actually moves inside you. It's not actually, like I always thought it was your bowel was.
So it's not actually physically, technically disconnected. It's still attached.
It's still attached. Yes, it's literally tied in a knot.
Wow.
And I thought in my mind, when I looked at my body or thought about the inside of my body, and
I thought it was just flapping about or connected to another artery
But
somewhere.
I think it depends if you've had bits removed of it. If you've had, I think if you've had mine's the same as Kelly's, but if you've had bits of your colon removed, I think that isn't connected. If you've had to have say a little bit removed and
a section taken away.
Yeah, but I think mine's the same, Kelly, because I had a loop ileostomy and then I had that prolapsed at both ends. So then they made it an end ileostomy, and obviously that's still prolapsed. So and then now the plan is to remove this because of the diversion colitis, hopefully. But I didn't realise that was what happened. So thank you for telling me that. I didn't know it was tied up.
That explains a few things though, but could that not also explain the people that get diversion colitis and stuff, because it's still technically there?
Yeah, it's still there. It's still trying your body. It doesn't, because originally I thought when they tie it off, it's like something else. When it doesn't get used, it stops working or it dies off. But it wasn't until I spoke to this particular doctor in the hospital, and he took the time to sit down, draw me diagrams, and literally physically show me with a glove that he'd blown up,
Wow.
his arm and his name badge thing, and it made sense when he was talking, as opposed to using hospital jargon at you all the time and not actually telling you anything, but just telling you everything all in one go, just to bombard you.
That's really interesting, that, isn't it?
A doctor, right? If I take my jumper off, so this is how a doctor explained my prolapse to me, right? So how my doctors explained it was that this bit's the stoma. I said, what has happened with me is all this is the small intestine, and mine's gone inside of itself. It's gone through the bowel. Oh, things come out. And it comes out on itself. So, and then that's the prolapse. So he said, as much as he cuts off all the stuff that I asked him to just cut it off, he couldn't just cut it off because it just goes in on itself. And that's what happens to my prolapse.
It's catastrophic, isn't it?
It's called an interception prolapse. But it took off all the surgeons I spoke to. One sat down and he showed me with the jumper, and I thought, finally, now it makes sense.
A simple way of explaining it. Yeah.
Because nobody really explained why it was happening, like exactly how it was happening, and it was just nice. Sometimes it takes the power of it out of it when Kelly, doesn't it?
Yeah, just somebody to be very simple about it. And the doctor that actually saw me in A&E, I think he wasn't actually a bowel surgeon, he was a breast surgeon. So he didn't really 100% know everything. Obviously, before they sort of go off and decide which area of the human body they're going to treat, they do everything. They do general medicine. But he had actually specialised as a breast surgeon and was just doing a stint in A&E. But the fact that he sat and quite simply said, this is how it simply works, it made me feel a hell of a lot better, and understanding that it's something quite simple. And he said it might happen again, it might never happen again, I don't know, and touch wood wherever there is some, that it don't happen again, and it stays quiet, which it has done for months. But
are you intending on having your bowel removed?
Yes, that's my next operation.
Any sort of time scale for that?
The last time I spoke to my surgeon's receptionist, I was on a waiting list. They'd put me on the waiting list. But I've had to move my gynecology from the Manor Hospital over because she was dragging her feet and just refusing to talk to the New Cross Hospital at Wolverhampton. So I've moved everything across, but I just need to phone them up next week. And I keep saying I'll keep phoning them up next week. So Rachel, bug me.
I will. Your surgeon was great. She was really she listened to you, didn't she, Kelly? Yeah. And it was good because I think you were in such a bad way. Like, I was very worried about you, and I said to Steve, I was worried about you because when you have lots of hospital admissions, you don't know what's wrong. It does start to affect you mentally. It did with me with all my ileostomy surgeries and all the sepsis. And I think you got to a point where you wanted an answer on, I can't live like this, so give me an answer. And having a treatment
it's not just
plan.
That you can't always take everything in, can you?
No, you can't plan your life
on your own. You know that. I think that's why you went, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Rach?
Yeah, and I'm quite thankful that Rachel did come because I think it was a couple of hours later I went, what did they say to me again?
Well, when I got told like the cells had mutated in my bladder and it was early stage basically, but they never used the cancer word, so I never say it was because I had the suprapubic catheter for 8 years and the cells mutated. When I was in that appointment, I brought one of my friends who's called Brummy Steve, hasn't been in Birmingham for 20 years, but he was with me and they told me there that I could never have kids because if the way they removed the bladder from the uterus, that I would have a uterine rupture and all this stuff. But I totally blanked it out. So at the end of the appointment, he brought up the kids with me and I went, no, they didn't say anything about kids. And he went, no, they did. Do you not? And I totally blanked it. And in that environment, it's important to bring somebody with you. I used to do all these all on my own. And I've learned the hard way that I need to like take somebody with you because you think you're invincible. You forget.
Me, I thought quite invincible and I can do this on my own.
Yeah, of course.
And I think it was you that said, if you need somebody, and it gave me the wake-up call. And I thought, well, if Rachel's saying, then it must be, because Rachel, I'm sorry, and I might embarrass you, but you are like my celebrity god.
Oh, no, don't say that.
It happens.
It was nice to meet you, but it was hard. It's hard. Like, there's a few people at the moment that I'm supporting that like one in particular, I won't mention her name, but she's got a peristoma hernia and she's fighting for a urostomy and it seems to be that surgeons are more willing to give ileostomies than urostomies. If you don't have cancer, there's a big massive push that you have to get to. People are left with catheters for years and the catheters can be really difficult and really hard to live with. My life was hell with a catheter and I'm glad the cells mutated because I got rid of it. But I think loads of people are left, and I think it seems to be behind. Urology side seems to be slightly.
If I go in for the full pancolectomy and I wake up for urostomy, you're my bitch. I'm telling you, because I don't know anybody else that like within my group with the urostomy that I could talk to freely and open without bursting into tears. Yeah. You're the only one I can talk to without crying.
Oh, that's Rachel's bread and butter, that is, isn't it, Rach?
Yeah, the urology side is where I'm more specialised in that than I would say myself, like through my experience, than the bowel side, because I don't like now I've got diversion colitis, I have classed as IBD. I think I need to check that, but I've always felt on the outskirts. Like even doing the show, when I remember when Louise asked me, I went, I can't do it. I don't have IBD. But Rachel, you have, like, I had diverticulitis in the colon as well and the diversion colitis, but I still felt not part of. But I've learned
like, I'm not doing it, I have nothing wrong. And I was like, but you have so much knowledge. I said, you have so much that you can do, that you have to offer. I said, I don't think you even realise it half the time.
But I think a lot of it was my own sort of, it was a way of keeping myself safe and sort of staying in it, like in that bad place, because it was like, oh well, nobody else knows, I'm not part of this group, I'm not part of that group, but actually, we've all got stomas. Kelly's nodding, so she agrees.
I know. Because I've not got IBD and I've not got a label as such, but just the inability to poo. It's just it is a bit of a lonely place to be, not knowing why it happens, and like you said, it's like you're all by yourself. Yes, you've got an ostomy, but you sat there all on your own because you can't actually, either way, you can't sympathise with how it is to have Crohn's because you've never had it, or how it is to have colitis because you've read about it, but you can't actually physically put your stamp on it. And I do feel that quite a bit in the community, but I think that's why Fun Bag sort of arrived itself. So I had a place where I belonged. But I do realise now that I do belong everywhere.
Love Expo, is that Mike? Is that Mike as in Mike Blake? Because I think it's a Mike because he's been winding Nicola up.
I've seen that through my phone, and I thought.
And he's just actually put on there, he said, "What? I happened to log into my works account, but thanks for clarifying it won't grow back. I was just wondering, Starbucks can help apparently."
And Derek's put, I have a long-term catheter now with a leg bag and a colostomy with a spinal injury. Derek, there's a group that I started, Double Bag, a support group that we like, whether you have a nephrostomy, a suprapubic catheter. Graham's on that group because he's had urethral catheter sometimes and self-catheterized. So join that group if you want, because there's lots of us have got more than one bag. But my life with a catheter was really hard. It wasn't until I got rid of the catheter and I had the two that my life was really I've started doing stuff again.
That's okay. I've just called Mike a sod. Sorry.
It is Mike Blake, is it?
It is, yeah. He's just put on there busted. he's blowing kisses now, bless him. But you know, the whole point when we set the show up originally was to help people. It just, the IBD and ostomy support show just kind of rung and sounded good when I'd had vodka, so it stuck. But it's, you know, it's like everybody. It's like Kelly with her. She doesn't feel like she's part of a specific group. She's just, you know, part of the ileostomy gang. You know, everybody, even if they have got illnesses behind what's caused it, everybody does sometimes feel like they're isolated. You know, it doesn't matter what way you look at it. Everybody always feels isolated in a way. It's, you know, it's one of those things. That's why there's so many groups. It's why there's so many support groups and help groups.
It is right.
Also, the hardest, one of the bit that I think needs more attention and more support, and it'd be really hard to do, is the bit before you get a diagnosis. Yeah. Because that is the most awful place. Like 5 years it took for me to get diagnosis. 5 years. I had to go to a psychiatrist to find out if it was, like, they thought it was in my head, and they said, no, there isn't any mental health there. And I kind of, like, that was a really hard place, not knowing why my bladder and bowel couldn't empty.
I think you mentioned drive yourself nuts with, why am I not normal? Why are they, all the doctors saying I'm fine? Everybody that I've seen is saying I'm normal and I'm fine and it's normal and it'd be okay, just take this laxative or that laxative, and never mind that a grenade.
There's room for a group there, isn't there? Yeah. The bit before you've been diagnosed group.
Not just for slow transit, but for like Crohn's, colitis. For every disease, the bit before you get diagnosed, there seems to be, obviously it's quite difficult to offer support because you haven't got a diagnosis. But that for me was the most loneliest, hard, breaking time. And I think I'm not the only one, and it's just how there has to be. It's horrible.
It's the embarrassments that. It wasn't until the doctor pulled his finger out of my bum and said, right then, I think you've got ulcerative colitis. And I thought, wow. First of all, he didn't say the C word. And I thought, I've actually got something. I know what it is. You know what I mean? Something can start to be done now. Felt like a massive weight had been lifted.
I mean, we could actually go on for another hour for another show about, you know, everything. And maybe it's something that we will broach.
Proper gone over it, we?
Yeah, we have. I think we're giving them back the hour they missed last week.
We're allowed to swear now because it's after 9.
It's been amazing having you on. Like, it's really good to have. I feel like somebody is on my bits with me, you know. Yeah. It's good hearing your story, because I think it's nice to know that there's so many different reasons, you know. Like when I went to the physio talk. A physio said to me, they were researching it, and they said stomas are only down to Crohn's, colitis, IBD, cancer, and I think they said something else. And I actually challenged them. I went, no, there's loads of reasons. Like,
sorry, Rachel, have you just seen that comment?
What comment?
But Steve, and he didn't even buy you dinner.
Who?
What?
Buy me dinner?
No, Steve, when the doctor pulled his finger out of his rectum.
I would hope not.
I know, you know what? It was the most unromantic appointment ever. He didn't buy me flowers or nothing.
Oh. Do you know what? Every time I go see my surgeon now, he just knows it's a no-go and just books me in for a flexi because I've got fissures and stuff. There's just no point unless he wants to be punched. So,
And then afterwards, I said, "You are the doctor, aren't you? You definitely are the doctor. It's not the waiting room." Oh dear.
Steve always has to bring it down.
No, get off.
Right.
Lightening the mood.
I've been having dreams recently because I know I've got to go in and have the rest of it done and sorted, and the dreams I've been having are just mental. It's like you lot all standing round me having a flexi sit done with my arse out for everyone to see. It's the sort of dreams that I've been having.
Live.
Holby City.
Yeah, live on the IBD Ostomy support show. It's just so bad. Yeah. It's my nerves. They're playing up with me.
Thank you for everybody watching and everybody that's commented. We've had quite there are going to be like a wide range of opinions, and Mike winding everybody up, but it's like, I think it is good to have a discussion, not everybody to agree, because that's how we can have a more unbiased discussion. And I just like to say that Amy said really quickly about like that she said that most of her lonely years of her life were before diagnosis. So maybe there's something there in the future. Possibly.
It is. Yeah, there is something we can think about doing that. I don't know whether I can fit that on this month. We can try, because we're just literally just doing products. But I know next week we are covering barrier sprays, barrier cream and barrier powder. But we're also doing about mindful eating with the stoma, because we've noticed recently amongst...
About what? What was that? About what? Sorry.
Mindful eating with your stoma, more so with an ileostomy than anything else, because it's been quite common in the groups recently that a lot of people have been suffering from blockages. So it's
sorry, Louise, for April, has anybody got, if anybody's got anything they want us to cover, because we've got quite a lot of people on watching tonight, so if anybody wants us to cover a topic for April, because we haven't got a plan for that yet, have we, Louise? April?
No, not yet, not April, no.
So if you've got any ideas you would like us to cover within reason, please.
Yeah, we can't do anything too risque, not 8 till 9, because there's young ones that watch it, and there's obviously companies and stuff that watch us as well, so we have to be very careful about the way we show ourselves, shall we say, when we do this. It's right after 9 o'clock, we can sort of let rip a little bit today. But no, so next week we are literally doing everything that is barrier related. Also, we might do the barrier rings as well, but I've never been able to get on with those, but some people swear by them. It's the same with like the Duoderm and other stuff, so we'll be covering that. And yeah, just doing mindful eating with an ileostomy, so people aren't getting blockages, or if they are getting blockages, then they know how to deal with it, or just avoid that food group completely. We've all been there.
Just stop eating altogether. That should sort it.
Oh, do you know what? We've all been there though, haven't we?
Yeah.
But we would like to say thank you so much to everybody watching this evening. Thank you all so much for your comments. At the end of the day, even if Mike was having a bit of a wind up, he did actually ask some pretty valid questions, to be fair. And Smiley, I'm going to get you back on Instagram. You wait. But we're going to say night for this evening. Thank you ever so much for watching, and we will see you again at 8 o'clock next Thursday.
Thank you, guys.
Bye. Thanks, everybody.
See ya.